Okay, now we're going to do a deep dive into clairvoyance. And clairvoyance is the art of seeing. I have mentioned before the way that I see that, but I'll just go over it again because I don't even know if this is how other people see things, but it may help someone else who's feeling weird if you think that the way that you're seeing things is wrong. So the way that I see things is I could have my eyes open right now, and in my mind, I could see an image. I can also see something. If I close my eyes, I can see something in my mind. However, I can also see something. If I close my eyes and I shift my focus, I can see images on the back of my eyelids. And when I have my eyes closed, I can also see through my eyelids and see an image here. And I know that probably sounds like a little bit loony, but we're not. None of it's loony. Everything's perfect. It's just the way we see it. And it's different things that I see in different ways. And I don't try to favor one or the other. It's whatever comes in, comes in. Sometimes, like even before I go to bed and my eyes are closed, it can be I can see something, but then I go, okay, I'm going to see what's on the back of my eyes, and I may see something totally different. So it's really quite interesting. Sometimes it'll just happen on its own, and something will come in either out here or inside or behind my eyes, and it will show me different things. I remember when I first started tuning into sort of this whole spiritual connection and my new way of being, I had these flashes, and it was so real, but it was with my eyes closed, but it was coming on the outside of my eyes, and it was just a flash of every single piece of scenery you could imagine. So it was mountains, waterfalls, trees, bush, forest, cityscape, but it was like that. No, not with that noise. But yeah, really fast. It just kept going image, 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 like that. Just so many different locations. I did put that down to all the different existences. It's another whole conversation for another day. But because then I also got it with people's faces, and it would do exactly the same thing. It was like, whoa, calm down. I was like, is that all the people I've been? Is it all the ones that I am now? Is it the people that I'm connected to? Is it possibilities? And it was so many questions, but it was just the way that I saw things. And I think that was like the first real strong imagery connection that I felt or saw to allow me to see more things. So we can see things in so many different ways. I know there are a lot of different psychic tools you can use where you actually create like a screen or a TV or whiteboard, blackboard, whatever it is in your mind, and you can train your brain to bring in the information onto that screen. And this is just a way for us to allow that imagery to come in. And I think with some of the tools that we can use to sort of bring it in, it never needs to be locked into the be all end all, unless that's what you want. If you wanted to train your mind, this is how you were going to see things, you could definitely train your mind to do that, so that you knew that when this screen came up that you were going to see something on that screen. And when you were asking a question or where you wanted information, it was going to show up there because you have trained your mind that this is where the information comes through. This is where I'm going to see what exactly I need to see. And when we see things in our mind, it may not always be like a movie or a scene or exactly how we want the answer. Like if we said, show me how this is going to turn out. It's not always going to be an image of that exact situation and what's going to happen in that moment or what the possible outcome is going to be. It could be an image. It could be a symbol. It could be an image of something that represents something totally else, but you need to, correlate the two together. It can be a word, like you could literally flash up a word. It could be a song, like you could see the song. Of course, that could come into your clairaudience as well, but you could see a song, you could see the music clip playing out. It can be so many different things. It could also be images that come in before you're going to do something else. So if you were asking a question, something would pop in and it would guide you then possibly to write, and you could start writing things, but you'd already seen it here, but you're just writing what you saw. It could be a symbol that you see in your mind and suddenly you write. I did that with my sigils or light codes or drawings, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes they will just pop in with no rhyme or reason. They'll be just like, oh, okay, I've got to create that. And I'll create that and dive more into it. Other times I can just tune in and say, okay, I would love, show me an image for strength. And it would create one that I could then use as a light code or a sigil. And that's how my images come in. So there's never going to be just one way for this information to be seen when we're looking at it through our mind, whether it's inside, outside, on the screen, whichever way we're going to do it, because it can come in so many different ways. And we can train it to do the ones that we like, or we can just allow it to just come through how it needs to. And we don't need to put any expectation on it. And we don't need to believe or feel or know that it needs to be in one certain way or another. So what are some of the ways that we can really try and tune into more of what we're actually seeing? There are so many different ways we can use and so many different tools. And I am a very strong believer that all these tools out there are just tools. There is never a 100% right way that this is going to work for you. I think if you can arm yourself with as many tools as possible to find what works for you, or try a few different ones on and see how they feel. Because I believe that we create whatever we want to receive, whatever we want to be, just by holding that belief that that is possible. And even with some of the ways that we can actually see those images into our mind, I think a lot of them were created so that it could give us a solid instruction or solid steps or solid tools for us to sort of really go, okay, that makes sense now, because our human mind, it likes having those steps. We have that logical part of our brain that wants it to make sense. And sometimes when we're just like, oh, allow the information to come through, our brain is like, that don't make sense. So creating these other alternate ways for us to bring information through is just a tool to allow our mind to go, oh, okay, that makes sense. So you're telling me to bring up a screen. Okay, here's a screen, or, whatever it is, whatever tool you're using. So that is just going to help our little mind allow more of this stuff to come in. However, the more and more you do it, the less and less of those things we need. So I know one of the tools that a lot of people use, I don't use it as much. I have a little bit, and that is using tarot cards. And tarot cards, I think traditionally, and I'm not a tarot expert, so I'm just saying what I feel, tarot cards previously were more of, particular people with a strong skill set in really understanding and embodying what those tarot cards meant based on, the principles of the projection of each of the different suits and the way they sort of escalate through the different levels and numbers and growth and journeys, and through the major cards and the minor ones as well. So there was a deep understanding and knowing of the tarot cards. However, as our society and as how energetic vibration and how we have sort of evolved as a collective now, there is more openness to our interpretation of the tarot cards. So if we pulled in a tarot card where normally you would look at a certain card and say, oh, terrible things are going to happen to you, it's going to be, you know, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to do that anymore. Now we can tap into our intuition. How does this card make me feel? What are the images on the card? You know, if we asked a question, how does that relate to this question? What does this picture over here? What's this little symbol? What does this number mean? What does this color mean? And there's so many more ways we can interpret things by using the tarot cards. And you can do that with the tarot cards to allow more of your clairvoyance to come in, because you are looking at the image and you are interpreting it in your own way. So you are linking, if you have an actual specific question, of course, sometimes it's, what's this week going to look like, or whatever it is. And you can interpret it based on what your intention was in the beginning. And then, of course, you can add more on it and go, okay, well, this represents this to me. I'm going to add another card. Oh, okay, I see where this represents this to this. Oh, another one, etc. You can add different cards. You can use oracle cards. You can use whatever you want. Look at the images. Like, I'm just looking at like some of the cards like I have here. Like, you can look at all the pictures. Oh, what does that star mean? What's all this green? And not just reading what it is and looking it up in the book, really sort of interpret, how does that feel for me? How can I marry that with the situation that I'm talking about, I'm trying to get an answer for? Or what is it showing me to give me guidance in moving forward in that area? Something else you can do is try to tune into friends or family. So you could be like, okay, where are they now? What are they doing? What are they wearing? What are they feeling? I'm not talking about like tapping into their energy, because I think there is a level of boundaries that we need to hold with that. But just imagine, like, if you had a friend or something and you know that they don't live with you, or you don't know their exact movements for today, right? If you can try and tune in with now, what are they doing? What are they seeing? Or do it with famous people. Where are they sitting? What are they eating? Are they sleeping? And try and tap into allowing those images to come in, to see what sort of scene you can create in your mind, and then build it out. You can draw it, you can create it with digital art, you can just think it, you can do it so many different ways. And the beauty, though, of doing someone that's your friend, you could actually contact them later and find out what they were doing, and if that sort of lined up with how you were seeing as well. So that's a great way to sort of practice. But with the, you know, more public figure people that you wanted to do, you may not get that confirmation, or you may be something on social media, on the news or something. But if you can tune into your friend and see what information you can get, see if you can really sort of tap into what they're doing, when they're doing it, how they're doing it, what the surroundings looks like, and really sort of create that image in your mind and practice doing things like that, because that's really going to help you allow that imagery to come through in your mind. Another way is to do a lot of drawing, do a lot of artwork, allow those intuitive thoughts or ideas to use certain different mediums, whether it's pens, pencils, crayons, paint, whiteboards. Like, I have a couple of whiteboards and I have so many pens with colors. So I could literally create a piece of art on a whiteboard if I felt like that's what I wanted to do. So that is something you can do as well. And you could even line up a whole array of colors and go, okay, what do I intuitively want to write with this? Okay, what do I want to draw? And see if there's images that come in, see if there's pictures that form in your mind that you can then use to then create whatever you want to create. Another thing also, you could do some sort of scrapbooking. I know it's a little bit harder with magazines, books, we don't use that as much. But what if you did an online scrapbook? It's similar to a vision board. You could even create one of them and allow images to form in your mind and see if you can find images that match that. It's pretty easy these days to go into a search engine and find things. Otherwise, of course, there's great places like Pinterest and things like that that have so many amazing images that you could create something that you've seen in your mind. See if you can recreate a scene. You could set an intention, or you could allow something naturally to come through, but see if you can create it in a scrapbooking or vision board type way. Another way you can really sort of tap into not just your clairvoyance, but this does help with that and it can help with others, is do something different. Like if you always wear the same color, try wearing a different color. If you've always had your hair in a certain way, try putting it in a different style, or try a different color, or try a different food, try going to a different location, try driving through a different route than you normally do. Try and do things that are different. Try and really mix it up a little bit so that your mind is not so focused in doing the everyday normal, this is what we do every day, this is what we're going to do, there's no other way to do it type effect, but mixing it up, going, oh, you don't know which way I'm going to work, I'm going to go this way. I know some places there's only one way to go, but sometimes we can take an extra street and go the long way around, or we can leave at a different time, or we can eat something different, or we can eat in a different location. There's so many ways that we can mix it up, and by doing that, you're telling the brain that anything can happen at any time, anything is possible. It's not locked in, it's not always going to be the same. It can be different and it can look different, which then will actually allow your brain and you to allow different images, different thoughts. Another thing is to really look at actual pieces of artwork. Like, what about going to a museum? What about looking at art, looking at images? Because if you think about it, the way that you're going to think in your mind and the images that are going to come to you may just be the only way that you look at things. So you may be someone who's just good at looking at like landscape, sort of nature-y type pictures or something like that. Whereas if you go to a museum, you're going to see someone else's interpretation. You're going to see some of the abstract art. You could see some of their, those art sculptures and things where you're like, that's a totally different way to look at that subject or look at that topic. And it will open your mind to create some new sort of creative juices and allow those new ideas and thoughts and images to pop in your mind instead of just looking at things that you've always seen. Because if you've only sort of exposed yourself to a certain way of seeing or a certain way of allowing images to come in, what if you mix it up and we tried it in a different way? So, you can look at art, not just actually in person, go look online, look something up. And honestly, like these days with all these new AI creators, why don't you try and create some images on there to get your mind thinking of looking at things in different ways? And all those things are really going to help you be able to bring more of that clairvoyance in and allow you to bring different imagery into your mind so that you can see things in so many different ways.